You already know exactly what you're feeling right now. You don't need me to set the scene, to build the mood with pretty words about the quiet of the night, the turned-off lights, and the stillness of the house. You're already there. You know this place by heart, from repeated nights that start the exact same way, with that same heavy knot right in the middle of your chest. It's a mother's anxiety, not the generic anxiety you read about in books, but this specific kind, the one with a name and a permanent address, living right at the intersection of the fierce love you have for your children and the terrifying realization that you can't control everything around them. Your kids are scared to go to sleep, and you're scared of their fear. That is what's happening here. It's not just everyday worry. It's a real, physical fear that settles straight into your body. It's the tension sitting heavily in your shoulders from the moment the bedtime routine starts. It's the shallow breath you hold until you've verified they are finally, truly fast asleep. It's your ears remaining on high alert even after the lights go out, tracking every creak in the hallway, every sound in their room, listening for that sudden "Mom" that might or might not come. You are in hypervigilance mode. And hypervigilance is not rest. It is survival with your eyes closed. I know this because you didn't stumble upon this prayer by accident. You came here because a deep part of you recognized that you need help, not the kind of quick fix that tries to solve things from the outside in, not another list of sleep hygiene tips for kids, and not another routine you've tried a dozen times that only works half the time anyway. You need the kind of help that works from the inside out, the kind that goes straight to where the fear lives and heals it from the root. And that kind of peace, the kind that touches what's beneath the surface, that reaches where tricks and tactics can't, operating in the space between what you see and what you feel. That kind only comes from one source. That is why you are here. So I'm not going to ask you to take a deep breath first, and I'm not going to tell you to drop your shoulders before we begin. You'll get there. We'll get there together, word by word, as these truths do the heavy lifting that real words are meant to do. For now, just bring whatever you have right now. Bring the bone-deep exhaustion. Bring the tension. Bring that overwhelming, beautiful love that feels so huge, yet still feels helpless to do everything you wish it could. Bring the fear of their fear. Bring it all. You don't need to organize it. You don't need to summarize it or present a polished, put-together version of what you're feeling. Come just as you are, because God doesn't need you to be okay before He starts working. He meets you right where you are, at this exact moment, carrying this exact weight, with this specific mix of love and sheer exhaustion. It is enough. You are enough. And this prayer starts right now, not when you finally feel calm, not when your racing thoughts stop, and not when the tension in your shoulders melts away. Right now, right here, Father, I begin with what is most urgent, their sleep. Not as an abstract concept, but as a concrete reality I face every single night, one that has cost me more than I let show on the outside. How long has it been like this? Weeks. Maybe months. Maybe longer than I want to admit, because admitting it means it's a real problem. And real problems require real battle. And I am already so exhausted from battling that sometimes I'd rather just call it a phase. But it's not a phase. It's fear. A real, deeply rooted fear that shows up every night when the lights go out, when the world shrinks, and when the mind of a child, which during the day has school, friends, and enough stimulation to keep fear occupied elsewhere, finally finds itself alone in the quiet. And the fear that was waiting takes its moment. I've tried the practical solutions, Lord. Leaving the hallway light on, keeping the door cracked, sticking to the bedtime routines all the experts recommend. I've read about it, I've put it into practice, and I've stayed consistent long enough to know that consistency helps, but it doesn't completely heal. I've sat on the edge of their beds more nights than I can count. I've prayed short prayers with them, the ones they know by heart, the ones that end with an amen, a kiss, and tucked in blankets. And yet, the fear remains. It doesn't look the same in each child. They are different, their fears are different, and the way they express it is different. But the fear remains, and I need you to do what I cannot do. Your word says in Psalm 127:2 that you grant sleep to those you love. That promise isn't meant for children who have nothing to worry about. It's for real people, with real burdens, facing real and difficult nights. And children born to a mother who honors the Lord are deeply loved by you long before they were ever mine, with a love that is the very source of my own, a love that never grows weary when mine reaches its limit, a love that doesn't fade when I have nothing left to give at 11 o'clock at night after a long day. Grant them sleep, Lord, not a shallow sleep, not an interrupted sleep, not the kind of sleep where a part of them stays awake, monitoring the dark. Give them restoring sleep, sleep that serves as a safe haven, the kind of rest that, when they wake up tomorrow, makes their bodies truly know they've rested, and while they sleep work. I don't know exactly what you do while they sleep, and I don't need to know. I just know you have access to depths in them that I can never reach. I know sleep is a place of openness, where defenses drop, conscious control softens, and there is room for you to move in places that are blocked during the day by noise, distraction, and the armor even young children learn to put on. Use that space. Go where only you can go. Touch the very root of the fear, not just the symptoms, not just the surface behaviors I see every day, but the origin, the place where the fear took hold, the experience that opened the door, the belief that took root about what happens when the lights go out and nobody is right beside them. Unravel it from the inside out, with gentleness, because they are so small, because what is inside them is fragile, and because healing doesn't need to be overwhelming to be complete. Touch them with the gentleness that is your signature, the kind you extend to the vulnerable, the kind that doesn't intimidate but transforms. And while you work in them, I will begin to let go right here. I can feel my shoulders dropping a little, just a little. I won't pretend the weight is completely gone, but a little. Just enough to realize there was tension where there is now a tiny sliver of breathing room. I accept this sliver of relief. This is where peace begins, not in massive shifts, but in tiny moments of surrender. Lord, now I bring you their dreams, not sleep in general, their dreams specifically. Because there's a distinction that matters to me as a mother, and I need to bring it before you with the same exact detail with which you know me. Sleep I can manage in part. I can create the conditions for it to come more easily. I can establish a bedtime routine, turn down the noise, and set the environment. I have some control over the external conditions surrounding their sleep, but I cannot control their dreams. Dreams happen in a territory beyond my jurisdiction inside their minds, in the space that opens up when consciousness recedes and the subconscious begins to work. And it is right there, in that space I cannot reach, that fear sometimes takes its most terrifying form, the nightmare. I've seen what a nightmare does to a child. Waking up with a racing heart, short, shallow breaths, eyes wide open in the dark, trying to figure out where reality begins and where the dream ended. I've seen that face taking several agonizing seconds to realize that I am right there, that whether it's day or night, it is real, and that the monster, the chase, or the falling was only an image, and not what was actually happening. Those few seconds break my heart because I couldn't stop it. I was in the next room, or fast asleep myself, or just 3 steps away, and I couldn't step inside that dream before it did its damage. So I need you to step in before it happens, not after the nightmare, just to help me comfort them, but before, right at the border of sleep where dreams are formed, where the images the night will produce are still just possibilities and not reality. Step into that space before fear does. Your word in Joel 2:28 says that you pour out your spirit and our children will see visions. Visions, images that come from you, that carry your presence, that leave a trail of peace instead of terror when they happen. I want that for them. Not necessarily prophetic visions or heavy spiritual revelations, just clean, peaceful imagery, just dreams that don't frighten them, just the kind of inner night that allows them to wake up on the other side with no lingering residue of fear in their bodies. That is what I am asking for. Clean dreams, dream territory consecrated to you, and specifically, that the imagery the enemy tries to use in this moment of vulnerability is blocked at the door. May whatever tries to form as a nightmare run into resistance before it can take shape. Let there be a shield, not a metaphorical one, but a real, spiritual, active barrier between my children's sleeping minds and anything that has no right to occupy that space. In Jesus' name, that shield is there. I declare it right now, and as I declare it, something in my chest loosens just a little more. It's as if making this declaration releases something I was holding on to without even realizing it. The strain of trying to be their only shield, the burden of trying to protect places I simply cannot reach. I can drop that burden right here. The barrier I cannot build, you build. The territory I cannot guard, you guard. And I breathe with that truth now, deeper than before. I feel the air reaching further down, not just shallow in my chest, but deep into my lungs. The kind of breath your body only takes when it finally starts to believe it is safe. It is safe, Father. Now I bring their fear head on, not from above, not generically, not as a category. The specific fear of each child, in the exact form it takes in each one of them, because they are different people, and fear learns the language of each child. There is the fear of the dark. This one is the classic, the one that has existed as long as humanity has existed, the one with no satisfying rational explanation because it's not about the absence of light. It's about the absence of certainty. When it is dark, whatever exists could be anything. The mind fills in what the eyes cannot confirm, and a child's mind doesn't have the same adult vocabulary to say this doesn't exist. So they imagine what adults know isn't there, but what the child doesn't have enough proof to dismiss. For this child, Lord, I ask for light. Not the light we turn on with a switch. Your light, the light that exists independent of electricity. The light that doesn't go out when the child closes their eyes and is left alone with their imagination. The light that is presence before it is illumination, filling the room in a way eyes cannot see, but the spirit senses. That specific stillness of knowing they are not alone, that there is something good in that room, that the dark is not a threat, because what inhabits the dark holds no power here. May this child feel your light tonight. There is the fear of dreaming. That child who isn't scared of the dark itself. They are scared of what the dark invites, what happens when their eyes close. The one who has enough experience with nightmares to have developed a painful relationship with falling asleep. Who resists sleep, not because they aren't tired, but because drifting off means becoming vulnerable to whatever comes when their guard is down. I understand this fear in a different way, because it is sophisticated. It isn't a fear of something external, it is a fear of their own interior, of their own mind, of what it produces when it's no longer supervised by consciousness. And that is a different kind of burden. A child who fears their own mind needs healing in a deeper place than what can be reached by a hallway nightlight or an open door. For this child, I ask that you enter before the dream. May the transitional space between being awake and being asleep, that specific threshold where vulnerability is highest and fear usually hits hardest, be filled with your presence. May they not cross that threshold alone. May there be something in that moment, something they cannot name but recognize as safety, that walks them to the other side. May falling asleep no longer be a lonely crossing for this child. There is the fear without a name, the child who wakes up in the middle of the night without having had a nightmare, unable to point to what it was. It's just a feeling, a weight, an uneasiness with no image attached. The one who, when I ask what's wrong, says, "I don't know." And they aren't lying, they genuinely don't know. It's an addressless anxiety, a fear with no object. This one is the hardest for me as a mother, because without an object, without an identifiable cause, I don't know what to fight. I don't know what to pray against. I don't know what to name. I don't know where it's coming from. And without knowing where it comes from, I don't know how to reach it. But you know what lies beneath that nameless dread. You know the experience that planted that seed, the belief that formed without them even knowing it was forming, the exact place where that anxiety takes root. Go to that place. You don't have to explain it to me, just go there and do your work. With your exact precision, with the access only you have, with the gentleness I specifically ask for this child, because what's inside is delicate and needs a delicate touch. May that nameless fear hit a boundary. May that boundary be you. And as I pray for each one of them, Lord, I notice something happening in my own body. The tension that was held in my neck has been moving down. It was in my neck. Now it's in my shoulders, and my shoulders have dropped too. It's as if praying through their fears is unlocking my own, as if naming what they feel is giving me vocabulary for what I feel, as if the act of surrendering theirs is showing me how to surrender mine. My breathing is slower, not because I forced it to be slower, but because something in my chest gave way and the air found more room. This is you working while I pray. In me, too, not just in them. Thank you, Lord. Now I bring you the physical space, because fear doesn't just exist inside of them. It tries to claim territory. It tries to find an address in physical places. The corner of the room where the shadows look different when the streetlight cuts through the window. The hallway that feels a little too long at 3 in the morning. The subtle creaks of the house when the silence is complete, and every tiny sound feels amplified. Fear is good at using space, so I bring every single inch of this house before you right now, and I explicitly consecrate it all. The entryway of this home, that front door I locked tonight, and probably double-checked, because it's always more than once, because a mother's love never just trusts the first check. May your mark be over that doorway. May whatever is not permitted here encounter your boundary before it ever reaches the threshold. May your presence be the first and final layer of protection over this door, not replacing the locks on the frame, but standing far beyond them, operating on a level locks can never reach. The hallway, that space between bedrooms that exists in every home, which takes on a different quality at night, longer, darker, filled with whatever potential their imaginations try to place there. May this hallway be illuminated by your presence. If one of my children needs to walk through it in the middle of the night, let them feel that they aren't walking alone. Let there be something in that space unseen, unheard, but deeply felt, that communicates you are safe, you are protected. There is nothing here to hurt you. Every bedroom where a child sleeps, I consecrate each one, not as an empty ritual, but as a deliberate act of faith, as an intentional stand under your authority. I declare that every bedroom where my child closes their eyes tonight is your territory. May what inhabits that room during the hours of sleep be your presence and not fear. May the corners, the shadows, the space under the bed, the area behind the door, all those places a child's imagination visits with fear be filled with your presence before fear ever gets there. Filled, not just protected from the outside, but saturated from within, so that there is no vacant room left where fear can settle, so that every inch of that bedroom is already occupied by what comes from you, and what comes from you shares no room with what comes from the enemy. And my own bedroom, because I need a consecrated room tonight too. I need the space where I finally close my eyes to be protected, not just so that I rest, but so that I rest in true peace, without my ears tuned to high alert, without that part of me that stays on guard even while asleep, without that lingering body tension that stays locked in even after my mind turns off. Let my room be a sanctuary of genuine rest tonight. Let me truly sleep, not just close my eyes, really sleep. The kind of restoring sleep that serves as a haven, giving me back tomorrow with the capacity to be the mother they need, and not just a mother who survived another night. Lord, I declare over this entire house, from the roof to the foundation, from wall to wall, from every bedroom to the hallway connecting them, that this is consecrated ground. It is territory under your jurisdiction. No opposing force has authority here. No fear is permitted to set up camp, and no anxiety holds a permanent address within these walls. This house is yours. This night is yours. And as I say this, I feel something I didn't expect to feel so soon in this prayer, a steady firmness. Not the rigid, tense firmness of someone trying to hold it all together, but the quiet, grounded firmness of someone who knows what she's leaning on. I am leaning on you, and you do not give way. My breathing has slowed down even more. I barely notice I'm doing it now. It's so automatic, so natural, completely free from conscious effort. This is my body recognizing that it can finally drop its guard, that something greater is standing guard for it. I let it. Father, now I want to address the angels, not in a vague way, not as a passing mention. I want to speak of them with the same specificity that your word does, because your word is deeply precise about this. And I've learned that when you are precise about something, I can be precise in my faith about it too. In Psalm 91:11, you say that you will command your angels concerning the one who dwells under your shelter, to guard them in all their ways. Commands, not suggestions, not general availability, not mere possibilities. Commands. Divine orders with a specific destination, a defined mission, and complete authority to execute what they were sent to do, and all their ways, including the ways of sleep, including the hallway at 3 in the morning, including the space inside a dream, including the places without a name because they haven't yet been mapped out by experience. All of them. So I claim that protection right now, not because I hold the power to command angels. I don't. But because I have faith in the word of the one who does. And that word says angels are sent to serve those who will inherit salvation, as it says in Hebrews 1:14. My children inherit salvation. I inherit salvation. This home is lived in by heirs of salvation. Angels have a assignment here, so I acknowledge them. I acknowledge the angelic presence over every bedroom in this house tonight, not as decorative figures or a comforting metaphor, but as an active spiritual reality, as an operating presence, as appointed guardians, carrying out what was ordered by one whose authority is infinitely greater than any fear my children face. The fear trying to enter their room is finite. The protection standing in that room was sent by the infinite. That realization anchors me, and now I will be specific about what I ask from this angelic protection. May the angels assigned to this house be positioned at every point of entry, doors, windows, every entrance that exists on a physical level, and every entrance on a spiritual level. May whatever is not permitted to enter run into these guardians long before reaching any child of mine. May the angels assigned to their sleep be present at the moment of transition, that exact threshold between waking and falling asleep, where vulnerability is highest and fear tries to act most effectively. At that boundary, let there be a presence that precedes sleep, entering first, preparing the space before consciousness recedes. May the angels assigned to their dreams be active within the territory of the dream, not just at the border, but inside. May whatever takes shape there be formed under the supervision of what comes from you. Let images carrying fear be dissolved before taking form. May the dream territory tonight be clean, guarded, and consecrated. And may the angels I don't even know are needed be present too, because I don't know everything that needs coverage. I don't know every single vulnerability of every child. I don't know every door that might be left open. And I don't have visibility over every layer where protection is needed. But you do. And you have already dispatched what is necessary, right where it is needed, before I even knew to ask. I acknowledge this. I say yes to what you have already sent. I align myself with what is already at work. And this alignment, this act of positioning myself beneath what you have already provided, does something in my body that I recognize as peace. Not just a thought of peace, physical peace. The jaw that was clenched, I hadn't even realized it was clenched, slackens a bit. The facial muscles that were on high alert begin to release. The space between my brows, furrowed from worry, starts to smooth out. This is my body responding to what my soul is processing. You are here. They are covered. And my body is beginning to believe what my mind has already declared. Lord, I need to bring you my own fatigue now, not as an afterthought, not as a minor issue I mention quickly before getting back to what really matters. I bring it as part of an inventory that deserves just as much space as everything else, because the exhaustion of a mother whose children are afraid to sleep is a very specific kind of tired. It's not just the normal end-of-the-day fatigue that alone is real enough, heavy enough. It's that tiredness compounded by constant vigilance. It's the added toll of nights that are never fully slept through. The added toll of keeping one ear always listening. The added toll of getting up when called, going back to bed, and lying awake waiting to see if you'll be called again. It's the added weight of daytime anxiety, worrying about what the coming night will bring. This exhaustion builds up, and as it accumulates, it changes things. It shortens my patience, making it much thinner than I want it to be. It steals my presence, making it harder to stay grounded when I'm running on empty. It changes the tone of my voice when I'm called for the 4th time after turning out the lights. It drains the quality of love I'm able to express when everything I have gets spent throughout the night in tiny fragments that add up to a heavy price. I don't want to be that mother, not the one who loses her patience on the 4th call, not the one who feels the weight of obligation before feeling the warmth of love when summoned from a dark room, not the one who is so tired of standing guard that the watch begins to feel like a burden rather than care. I want to be the mother who goes to them with love every single time. And I can't get there through my own willpower when I am at this level of exhaustion. So I need you in this. I need you to restore what has been worn down, not just physically, but emotionally. Refill the reservoir of patience that has been drained night after night. Restore my capacity for presence, which shrinks when my body is exhausted. Deepen the quality of love I give, connecting it to a source that never runs dry, a wellspring that doesn't depend on how many hours of sleep I got last night. You are that source. Your word says in Isaiah 40:31 that those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. That renewal isn't a poetic metaphor, it is a practical promise for real people with practical needs. I have a very real, practical need for renewal tonight. Renew my strength. Not so I can get by without sleep, I need sleep. You made me to need rest, and that is good and right. But grant that the sleep I get tonight is enough. Let me wake up tomorrow with the capacity to be who I need to be. Let the low reservoir be refilled while I rest, because you work while I sleep, and restoring my soul is part of what you do. And as I hand this over, Lord, I realize my shoulders have dropped completely. They are no longer pulled up high, trying to hold up the weight. They are right where shoulders ought to be, relaxed, supported, resting against the bed instead of tense in the air, trying to carry what is far too heavy. I notice this, and I choose not to tense them back up. I stay right here, like this, shoulders dropped, surrendered, weightless. You carry it. I rest, and for the first time in, I don't know how long, for the first time in a very long time, that sentence doesn't sound like a wish. It feels like reality. Lord, I need to talk about my faith, not to make an eloquent speech, but to be completely honest about where it stands, because there is a specific kind of wear and tear that happens to a mother's faith when she prays for the exact same things night after night, without seeing changes happen as fast as she hoped. A mother who prayed over their fears last week, and the week before that, and the month before that. A mother who has brought the same names, the same rooms, the same fears to you time and time again, with the same faith she had the very first time, all while trying hard not to dwell on the fact that the answer hasn't yet arrived in the form she expected. That drains faith in a way that's very different from simply not praying. It's the exhaustion of the one who keeps showing up, the exhaustion of someone who hasn't given up, but who arrives with less certainty that it will make a difference, putting in far more effort to muster enough conviction to pray about the same thing, once more, with an inner voice that sometimes asks if you're listening, if it's making any difference, or if there's something I'm doing wrong that's blocking the answer from coming. I hear that voice, and I want to be honest with you about it, because pretending I don't hear it isn't faith, it's performance. And you don't want a performance from this bed. You want honesty. You receive simple honesty far better than a polished prayer that hides what's really going on beneath the surface. So here is what is truly happening. My faith is present, but it is tired. It is still standing, but its knees are aching from standing for so long. It still believes in you, but it needs you to say once again that you hear me, that you are moving, and that just because I can't see it on the surface doesn't mean nothing is happening in the layers I can't reach. I need to hear that from you tonight. Not as an echo of my own words returned to me, but as your word with the weight that only your word carries, reaching into the place of doubt and weighing heavier than the doubt itself. Your word in Hebrews 11:1 says that faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Assurance. Conviction. Not a fleeting emotion, not a physical sensation, not visible proof. Assurance rooted in character. Your character, which is unchangeable, which doesn't shift with my wariness, and isn't diminished by how many times I've brought the same request without seeing the outcome. You are faithful, regardless of how my faith feels tonight. Your faithfulness isn't a result of my strong faith. It precedes it, it is greater than it, and it is the very foundation my faith rests on when it's too tired to hold itself up by its own strength. So I rest here, not in myself in you, not in the state of my faith, in the object of my faith, which is you who never change, who heard the first time I brought this request, who hears me now, and who will hear me tomorrow night, next week, and every single night I return with this same burden until the answer comes in a way I recognize as an answer. You hear, you act, you are not late. You are working in depths I cannot see, on a timeline I do not set, in ways I will recognize when they are complete, and that I may only fully understand looking back from a place I haven't reached yet. I trust this, not with explosive emotion tonight, with a quiet conviction, with the steady faith that remains when the feeling of faith has faded, leaving behind only the simple choice to keep believing, because you are who you are, and that will never change. This quiet faith, Lord, receive it. It is what I have to offer tonight, and it is real. And as I put this into words, the breathing that was already slow grows even slower. It's as if finally telling the truth about the state of my faith released something I was holding on to without realizing it. As if honesty with you produces a specific kind of relief that performative prayer could never offer. The relief of not having to appear stronger than I am, of being able to be exactly who I am before the one who knows me anyway. My eyes have grown heavy. I won't fight it, Lord. I need to bring you tomorrow. Not because I want to borrow trouble, or because I can't stay in the present, but because tomorrow is sitting heavily on my chest right now. It exists as a very real concern taking up very real space, and to ignore it in this prayer would be pretending it isn't there, when you already know it is. Tomorrow carries a specific shape that worries me, because a child who hasn't slept well isn't just a tired child. They are a child with depleted emotional resources to handle whatever the day will demand of them. And the day will make demands it always does. It will demand focus at school, patience in interactions, and the ability to regulate emotions when things don't go as expected. And a child coming off a rough night has less of everything to give. I know what that day looks like. I've lived versions of it so many times. The child who comes home from school with dark circles under their eyes and their patience hanging by a thread. The child who cries over the smallest things because they have zero reserves left to absorb normal, everyday frustrations. The child who becomes harder to reach, more withdrawn, more reactive, because being exhausted means feeling vulnerable, and feeling vulnerable triggers every defense mechanism they have. That child will return tomorrow needing me far more than usual, and I need to have something left to give them. So I pray over tomorrow right now, not with anxiety, but with an anticipation of faith. I pray over tonight's sleep, so that tomorrow can look different than it would if tonight becomes just another difficult night. Your word says in Lamentations 3:22-23 that the Lord's mercies never end, that they are new every morning. Every morning, not just mornings that follow good nights, Not just mornings where I did everything right. Not just mornings following flawless prayers. Every single morning. Including tomorrow's. Including the morning that will break after this night, no matter what form this night takes. New mercies tomorrow. For them, may they wake up with something renewed, even if the night was tough. May their day hold more grace and capacity than the night seemed to promise. May there be something resting in them tomorrow that can't be explained by hours of sleep alone. A reserve that doesn't come from rest, but from you. A lightness that comes not from physical sleep, but from the presence that covered them while they slept. For me, may I wake up with more than I went to sleep with. May tonight's rest, however long or short, be multiplied when you add what only you can add. May I reach the dawn with a capacity that isn't just my own, with a patience drawn from a source far deeper than my own natural well, and with a steady presence that remains even when weariness tries to linger. And for the day itself, may the things that must get done tomorrow unfold in a way that is manageable. I'm not asking for easy, and I'm not asking for perfect. I'm asking for manageable. May the grace you promise for each day be ready and waiting, and may I have the wisdom to lean into it rather than steamrolling through the day on sheer self-effort. You are already in tomorrow. That is what anchors me when tomorrow tries to pull me under. The truth that my anxiety about the future is traveling to a place where you have already arrived. The tomorrow I fear is already your present. What causes me distress from where I stand has already been seen from where you are, already considered, and already provided for before I even knew how to ask. So I can let go of tomorrow, not because it doesn't matter, but because you are already there. And as I declare this, something happens that I didn't expect at this moment in the prayer. That tight knot in my chest, that specific tightness that takes over whenever I think about tomorrow, about the day following this night, about the endless cycle it opens up. Not entirely, but enough for the air to go deeper. Enough for me to feel that anxiety isn't the only thing occupying this space. There is something else here too. Hope, quiet, small, but very real. Hope that tomorrow will be different. That tonight will be different. That something is shifting, even if I can't yet see it on the surface. That hope comes from you. I receive it, Father. Before I finish this inventory, I need a moment to step outside of myself, because there are other mothers listening to this right now. I don't know who they are. I don't know their names. I don't know their cities, and I don't know their children. But I know they are there, lying in other beds, in other homes, with other children sleeping in other rooms, carrying versions of the exact same weight I am bringing to you tonight. The mother who is listening to this while her child has come to sleep in her bed for the third time this week, and she doesn't have the heart to take him back because he gets so frightened and it breaks her completely. The mother who is listening with headphones in so she won't wake anyone, in a silence that is loneliness disguised as quiet, praying for a child who is afraid, and for herself, because she doesn't know how much longer she can endure this cycle. The mother who is in a harder situation than mine, fewer resources, less support, heavier burdens, more sleepless nights, more days survived on the absolute brink. The mother who seems to be in a more stable place from the outside, but who carries an anxiety within that no one sees because she's learned to hide it so well. And this prayer met her in a moment of rare honesty. Every single one of them, Lord. I bring them before you now as an essential part of this prayer, not as an appendix, as a central part. Because praying for other mothers who carry the same weight doesn't weaken my prayer for my own children. it strengthens it, because it reminds me that I am not alone in this, that what I feel isn't an exaggeration or a weakness, but a reality shared by many, that there is a community of women tonight doing the exact same thing I am doing, coming to you exhausted and honest, yet still believing that you hear every single one. May the protection I claim over this home tonight be claimed over every home where a mother prays for a child who is afraid to sleep. May the angels I invoke here be invoked there as well. May the peace I ask for my own bedroom fall over every room where a mother will finally close her eyes after shutting the last door. May none of them sleep alone with the weight. May every single one sleep covered by the same God, with the same faithfulness, under the same protection that never diminishes by being distributed, that never divides by being shared, and that is infinite enough to cover every house, every bedroom, every child, and every mother who came to you tonight. Your word says that you are the same yesterday, today, and forever. That means the prayer I offer right now is received by the same God who heard the mothers praying 100 years ago, who hears those praying tonight across every time zone in the world, and who will hear those who will pray long after I fall asleep. The same God, the same faithfulness, the same power, distributed without diminishing, present everywhere without dividing, sufficient for every single one. I declare coverage over every mother who brought a child afraid of the dark to you tonight. May they sleep. May their children sleep. May the morning break for every single one of these homes on the other side of a protected night. May it be so for every name I do not know, but that you hold. For every child whose fear I do not know, but that you reach. For every bedroom I cannot see, but that you inhabit. May it be so, and as I pray for them, something shifts inside me. The weight that was concentrated in my chest, that specific, personal, private weight distributes in a strange way that brings relief rather than multiplying the burden. It's as if sharing the weight in prayer makes it smaller, as if naming that others carry the same burden releases me from the illusion that I am the only one, and stepping out of that illusion frees me from the isolation that makes any weight so much heavier to carry. I am not alone in this. I never was. And knowing that, feeling that truth is so much lighter than I ever expected it to be. Lord, I notice what is happening in my body right now, not as a distracted observation, but as an intentional recognition of what you are doing while I pray. Because you don't just work in the spirit during prayer. You work in the physical body too. You created the body. You understand the body. And you know that spiritual peace and physical peace are not separate, but deeply connected. When one begins to settle, the other starts to respond. So I name what is happening. My shoulders are completely dropped now. It wasn't a forced decision, it was a process. Throughout this prayer, as I brought each burden, each area, each name, and each fear to you, my shoulders kept coming down. They were releasing the tension they were holding, without me needing to make a conscious effort to let go. It's as if the act of handing the weight over to you released my body from the obligation to physically carry it. I notice this, and I say thank you. My breathing is slow and deep, not the kind of breath you force when you're trying to relax, but the kind that happens naturally when the nervous system exits high alert. Each exhale carries away a little more tension. Each inhale brings in a little more of your presence. I am not controlling this rhythm, it established itself while I prayed. As the words poured out, my breath found its own steady pace. I notice this, and I let it continue. My jaw has unclenched. I didn't even realize it was tight until it released. That's the thing about tension, it settles in without asking permission. and it only comes to our awareness when it begins to leave. My jaw, which had been clenched for I don't know how long, is relaxing now. The space between my teeth that wasn't there before exists now. The muscles that were holding on are letting go. I notice this, and I choose not to tense back up. My eyes are heavy, that specific heavy feeling that isn't a bad, painful exhaustion, but a weariness that is finding its resolution, the weight of real sleep arriving. Not sleep that is forced, but sleep that comes when the body is finally given permission to rest. The eyes that stayed open monitoring for so long, that stayed on high alert through so many nights, that carry the accumulated fatigue of weeks of vigilance, those eyes are ready to close, ready to rest, and there is a softening at the base of my skull, that spot where neck and head tension meet, where stress headaches usually begin. It feels as if the tight tissue is expanding back to its natural state, as if the space that fear had compressed is being restored. I recognize this as proof that your peace isn't abstract. It is concrete. It is physical. It is happening in my body right now as this prayer unfolds, and I don't want to pray past this as if it were a minor detail. I want to receive it for what it is, as evidence of your presence, as physical proof that something greater than myself is at work in this moment, in this room, over this bed, and over this tired body that is finally being allowed to rest. I receive this, Lord, with gratitude, with the kind of gratitude that doesn't need eloquent words, just this good weight in my eyelids, this release in my shoulders, and this breathing that is so much slower than it was 40 minutes ago when I began. You are here. I feel you here, not as a dramatic sensation, but as a quiet presence. Like the shift that happens in a room when someone you deeply trust is sitting with you. Even if they don't speak, even if they don't move, their very presence changes the nature of the space. You change the nature of this space. I rest in this shift, Father. I still carry this day with me, not on purpose. The day doesn't ask for permission to linger. It just does. It stays in the unfinished details, in the words I spoke differently than I intended, in the moments I could have been more present, but had my head somewhere else. It stays in the conversation I had with one of my children today that felt off in a way I couldn't explain at the time, and still don't know how to fix. It stays in the little thing I forgot, in the big task I had to push to tomorrow, in the general sense of incompleteness that marks the end of any real day for any real person. I am carrying this day, and tonight I need to lay it down, not to pretend it was perfect, not to pretend it didn't happen, not to sweep the hard parts under the rug, but to genuinely lay it down, put it on the ground, let it go, and walk away without it. Because if I go to sleep carrying today, the sleep I get isn't rest. It's just a burdened pause. And tomorrow I'll wake up carrying yesterday's weight along with the new day's weight, and the accumulation starts earlier than it should. So I drop it right here. Every unfinished thing I hand over to you, not as an abandonment of responsibility, but as a recognition that being unfinished is not the same as failure, that the day has its limits, that I have my limits, that some things belong to tomorrow, not today, and pushing them back isn't a weakness, but wisdom. Every word that came out wrong, I hand over to you. I ask you to do with it what I can no longer do tonight. If it caused harm, reach what I damaged with your mercy before I even get the chance to repair it tomorrow. Let your grace work in the space between what I said and what I meant to say. Every moment I wasn't present enough, I hand over without punishing myself for it. Because self-punishment doesn't undo the moment. It only robs me of the ability to be present tomorrow. I did what I could with what I had. And you fill in where I fall short. Every spinning thought that remains, I surrender specifically. The one about my children. The one about myself. The one about what's to come. The one about what has passed. The one with no fixed address that keeps circulating anyway. One by one, in the quiet as this prayer continues, I name them internally and let them go. Right here, at your feet. Your word in 1 Peter 5-7 says to cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Cast, not hold on to carefully, not deposit with caution, not surrender partially while keeping a piece back just in case. Cast. With the entire gesture. With total surrender. With full confidence that what you receive, you sustain, and you never drop. So I cast it. This whole day, what was good with gratitude? What was hard with relief that I no longer have to carry it? What was left undone with trust that you complete it? What I don't understand with the peace that you do. And as I make this internal move of casting it away, I feel my chest lighten, not empty like a void, but open like a space. Like the room left behind when you remove the heavy weight occupying the place reserved for rest. There is room now for peace, for sleep, for you. And my breath responds and exhales slightly longer than the ones before, as if the body were letting go right along with the soul, as if the act of casting the day away were physical too, expressed in lungs emptying a little deeper, making room for the fresh air that follows. Come in, stay. Your presence is so good, Lord. I am reaching the threshold, that specific place everyone knows. But that has no convenient name, the space between still being awake and being awake no longer. Between the thought that finishes and the one that begins but never ends, because sleep stepped in midway. Between the mind that monitors and the mind that surrenders. I am right there, and I want to say something about this place before I cross over. It is the most vulnerable part of sleep. It is where fear usually tries to make its move in the hesitation of the crossing. At the exact moment when conscious guard is beginning to withdraw, but hasn't completely let go. It is where anxiety sometimes makes its final push. That single thought that flashes right as you're drifting off, pulling you back, making you start the whole process all over again. I know this place. My children know this place, and it is for this exact place that I ask for specific coverage right now. For me, may tonight's crossing be gentle. Let there be no last-minute thought pulling me back. May the sleep that is coming arrive without interruption, without the sudden jolt that fear sometimes causes right before drifting off, without that falling sensation that steals sleep before it can take hold. May I cross over gently, carried and sustained, to the other side. For them, may every child who is at that threshold right now, or who will reach it when sleep comes, cross over in good company. Let them not be alone in that space. May the presence I invoke not wait on this side or on that side, but stand right at the threshold, in the crossing itself, at the moment of highest vulnerability. May no one in this house cross over into sleep alone tonight. Your word says in Psalm 4-8, "In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." In peace, not just after peace arrives, but in the very act of lying down, before sleep even comes. Peace precedes sleep. Peace is what allows sleep to happen. And that peace is not manufactured by me, it is given by you. I receive it right now. I don't wait to feel it completely before saying I receive it. I receive it by faith in what you promised. And then I let the feeling follow behind the faith, and it is coming, slowly, in this steady release that began in my shoulders and worked its way down, that started in my breathing and kept deepening, and is now reaching my heavy eyes and my quieting mind. It is so much quieter. The thoughts that were racing earlier are moving slower now. It's as if this prayer has been slowing them down one by one. Every burden brought to you was a thought removed from the loop, laid down, no longer spinning. What circulates now is less noisy, spaced out, with more silence between one thought and the next. In that silence between my thoughts, you are there, unannounced, undramatic, just present, quiet, steady, the kind of presence that needs no noise to be real. I sense you in that silence, and I choose to stay here for a moment before crossing over, to rest in that silence with you, to breathe in that silence with you, to let my eyes grow completely heavy without trying to hold them open, to let my mind go wherever sleep wants to take it, to let my body sink that final millimeter into the mattress, that tiny millimeter tension held back, which now, with everything surrendered in this prayer, can finally rest too. You are here. They are covered. This home is secure, and I am at the threshold now with you on this side of the line, and on the other side too. I can cross over. It is safe, Father. I reach the amen of this prayer, not because there is nothing left to say. For a mother who loves her children, there is never an end to what can be said, but because there comes a moment when a prayer reaches its completion not through exhaustion, but through genuine surrender. And this is that moment. I have completed the inventory. I brought you their sleep. I brought you their dreams. I brought you each child and the specific fear they carry. I brought you this home, every room, every threshold. I brought your angelic protection and acknowledged it as real and active. I brought my own fatigue without shame. I brought my faith just as it is, tired but present, knees aching, yet still standing. I brought tomorrow and left it with you. I brought the other mothers praying this same prayer in other homes. I brought this entire day and cast it at your feet. Everything has been laid down. It isn't all instantly solved. Some of these things take time to heal, and I respect that process. But it has been deposited. It is in your hands. And what is in your hands is no longer exclusively in mine. So I speak over this night now. This night is protected. This house is covered by the blood of Jesus, not as a cliché phrase, but as a spiritual reality with weight and authority, creating a clear distinction between what is under this covering and what is outside, standing as an effective boundary against anything not permitted to enter. Every room where one of my children sleeps is under active angelic protection. Your angels are positioned. They are on assignment, carrying out what was commanded by the one who holds ultimate authority. And that authority does not fade in the early morning hours, does not grow weary as time passes, and does not slacken in the silence of the night. Their dreams are territory consecrated to you. Whatever does not come from you is not permitted to take shape in that space. What comes from you, peace, security, the deep sense of not being alone, has free entry. I am going to sleep, not watching on high alert, trusting, not monitoring, resting, not holding on, having completely let go. And tomorrow morning, when eyes open, every pair of eyes in this house, may the very first feeling be that it was a good night, that something was different, that sleep was a sanctuary and not a battlefield. May waking up on the other side of this night feel like waking up on the other side of something truly good. Receive this prayer, Father. Receive with it the entire day that came before it. Receive the fears that were named and the ones left unnamed. Receive the tired faith that brought it all to you anyway. And over this home, over every child, and over this mother who will close her eyes very soon, may your peace, which surpasses all understanding, guard our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus. May it be so. Amen. She is closing her eyes. And then a thought. Not a big one, just a small one. That specific kind of thought that knows the exact right moment to show up, waiting for your guard to drop before slipping in. The child who rolled over a moment ago. The settling sound the house made, which was probably nothing, but what if it was something? Her eyes open. That's the cycle. It's not weakness. It's what happens to mothers who love fiercely and rest rarely. It's what happens when the body knows it can relax, but the mind hasn't been completely convinced yet. It is deeply human, very real, and needs no judgment. So the prayer begins again, not from scratch, from the place your body reached during this conversation. With shoulders that are already much lower than when you first started. With breathing that already remembers how to slow down. With a mind that has already laid out the inventory and doesn't need to rebuild it all over again, but just needs to be reminded of what was deposited. You deposited it, Lord. It is still with you. You didn't hand it back when my eyes fluttered open. You didn't slip it back onto my chest when I wasn't looking. It is right where I left it, in your hands, under your watch, within your care that never depends on me staying awake to keep working. The child who rolled over just rolled over, because that's what sleeping bodies do. The house creak was just the house settling, and they are covered. Still, they stayed covered while my eyes were closed. They stayed covered when that thought slipped in and my eyes opened. They remain covered right now as I turn back to this prayer. The covering never stopped. Your faithfulness doesn't take a pause. Your care has no gaps for fear to occupy. So I return to rest. I don't have to convince you all over again. I don't have to rebuild the inventory. I don't have to repeat every name, every room, and every shield declared. I just need to remember what is true. And this is what is true. They are covered. This house is secure. The angels are in position. Their dreams are consecrated. And you stay awake while I sleep. You stay awake while I sleep. That is all I need right now. No more words, no more lists, no more declarations. Just that single truth as an anchor for this second drift into sleep. You stay awake while I sleep. My breath returns to the steady rhythm it had before that thought interrupted it. The shoulders that hitched up a fraction drop right back down. The eyes that opened grow heavy once more, faster this time, because my body already knows the way, because peace has a memory, and because the rest I was resting in before that thought is still right here waiting for me. I go back to it. With you, they are covered. I rest. Amen. Lord, this time, I didn't need much to find my way back. That's the beauty of the peace that comes from you. It doesn't have to be rebuilt from scratch every single time. It leaves a trail. It has a familiar texture that my body recognizes, a quiet place it can return to more easily the second time, the third time, every time the cycle repeats, because the cycle will happen. And there is no shame in that. A mother whose children are afraid to sleep will have nights like this, nights of coming and going, of eyes closing and fluttering open, of peace settling in, a thought interrupting, and peace settling right back down again. The cycle was never the problem. The problem would be facing the cycle alone, without an anchor, without a place to return to, without the truth that remains standing. Even when feelings of peace seem to drift to truth that is right here waiting when I turn back. You are that anchor. You are that place. You are the truth that stays steady while feelings of peace ebb and flow. And this third time isn't a defeat, it's practice. It is the nightly training of a mother learning to truly rest under the care of God. It is the muscle of trust being built, not in theory, but in real life, in this exact experience of surrendering, being called back, and surrendering all over again. Every time I let go, and then let go once more, something sinks just a little deeper. The peace settles into a lower layer. My body believes a little more fully. My mind settles a little more quickly. And this third time, I notice that the mental inventory isn't active anymore. I'm no longer listing every child by name, every room by location, or every fear by its specific shape. I am simply here, with you, carrying the simple, sufficient awareness that everything I brought has been deposited, and the vault is secure. That is enough. Your word in Philippians 4-7 says that the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Will guard, not suggest, not attempt, not merely stand by if I try hard enough. It will guard, like an active watchman, like a protection currently in motion. While I sleep, the peace of God is standing watch over my heart and my mind. I don't have to stand guard. I am being guarded, and so are they, and so is this house. The peace that surpasses all understanding doesn't need to be understood to be real. It doesn't need to make logical sense to work. It doesn't wait for me to fix everything, understand everything, or feel completely tranquil before it begins its work. It is working right now. Even while I'm still here, still quietly speaking to you, still lingering in that place between prayer and sleep that has become familiar territory tonight. It is at work, and I allow myself to be guarded. I release the last thread of tension that remained. The worry that tried to creep back in, I let it go again. The thought about tomorrow that tried to enter, I let it pass by without holding on to it. The name that tried to form as a burden, I hand it back to you, along with the child who carries it, completely confident that you know who they are and what they need far better than I do. Everything is in your hands. I am in your hands, and my heavy eyelids discover that this time, there is far less reason to open. Sleep is much closer now. Peace is much deeper. Trust is firmly established, and I am drifting into sleep this time, for real, with you remaining awake as I close my eyes, with them covered as my consciousness recedes, with this home protected as the quiet becomes complete, with this prayer continuing to work long after the words have stopped, because a prayer handed over to you doesn't need me to stay awake to stay active. You carry what was deposited for as long as it takes, all through this night, until the morning breaks, and I rest in this truth completely. Finally, Amen. Father, I have no more words now, not because there is nothing left to say. For someone who loves their children, there is never an end to what could be said. But because there comes a point where words have done the work they were meant to do, and what remains is deeper than words can ever reach. What remains is presence. Your presence in this room, in this silence that is no longer anxious, a silence that has become, throughout this prayer, an inhabited silence. A quiet space filled with you. A silence that is companion, not isolation. What remains is certainty. Not just the feeling of certainty, but certainty itself existing independent of how I feel, grounded entirely in who you are, and not in the state of my emotions. The certainty that they are covered, that the protection claimed is active, that the angels are in position, that their dreams are consecrated to you, that the morning will break on the other side of a guarded night. What remains is a body resting, a body released throughout this prayer block by block, tension by tension, layer by layer, arriving right here more relaxed than when it began. A body that learned, in this hour, that it can drop its guard because a greater guard is standing watch, that it can rest because whatever requires vigilance is under a watchfulness that never sleeps. What remains is me, not the version of me trying to handle it all. Not the mother who monitors, calculates, anticipates, and worries. Just the simplest version of me, the one who is also a child, who also needs a father, who came to you tonight with whatever she had and was received with everything you are. And what you have is enough. It has always been enough. Enough for them, enough for me, enough for this home, enough for tonight, enough for the tomorrow I haven't seen yet, but that you already inhabit. So I lie quiet here. No more words, no more requests, nothing left but the quiet presence of someone who knows she is cared for. You are here. They are covered. I rest. And when morning arrives, when the first sounds of the house begin, when eyes flutter open, when the new day calls me to be a mother again, with everything that requires May, I wake up knowing that it was a good night, that it was protected, that something was watching over us, that was not my own effort, but your faithfulness. May I wake up different than when I lay down, with a lighter burden, with a faith that has found rest, with a renewed assurance that you hear, that you move, and that you are present in the very things I hand over, even when I don't see immediate results. May I wake up knowing that this prayer didn't end when the words stopped, that it continued all night long, in your hands, over this house, over each child by name, over every fear that was named and every fear left unnamed, over this mother who tried, surrendered, and rested. Good night, Father. Thank you. Amen.